welcome to the fourth round of Rags to Riches here on Indianapolis tonight. It's wonderful having you all along as qualifying has just begun with the first cars exiting pit lane right now. So welcome to everyone in chat who's looking, as we are already seeing a couple of people quite close on pit exit. It's going to be an interesting qualifying around here. With of course being quite a lot of space, but with some tight corners near the end, it will cause some backing up for people preparing their laps, which might get tricky for the first runners here, who will be the first to arrive as well to those final corners. Well, in chat, welcome already to Miss CJ, Cody as we call him, and Philip. So let's turn up the volume. Not sure if that's just on my end then. I have to take a look into that as we're now keeping an eye out on track. Everyone really bunched up for now, but of course we'll change up once we are getting to these final few corners where people try to leave a gap to the car in front to make sure they have some clean air, which is especially important around a couple of corners around this lap. You want all the downforce you can get and don't want to be the air rush of another car. Of course, qualifying being quite interesting with the rules as well. Make sure you're on a valid lap, because otherwise you will not be allowed to pass each other. So we now see the first people come around the final corners. You already see on the minimap all the people bunching up now, slowly going out lap one by one, trying to get themselves as much clean air as they can, but not by actually taking up all of the track. Let's hope for the front runners here that they will be able to make it around after everyone has started their lap, so they won't be bunched up. It's looking like it will be okay so far. Of course, Indianapolis is quite an interesting track, as it's partially a run on the quote-unquote sections we have someone off already into turn 3, that is. And it will be very interesting and not a good start of the lap for him. Duke81 in the chat as well, saying there's lots of lag. It does maybe look a bit like that on stream. It's not run as smoothly as usual, but it should be fixed right now. Of course, it's not G here this evening. I'm couldn't be here sadly, so I'm filling up the spots here for this evening as a commentator. As we're now seeing the first couple of cars reach the final corners, looking to get a good banker lap in at this point. Of course, the best laps will probably be run near the end of qualifying, once people have got them in a bit of a rhythm with the current track situations. Of course, all of these drivers are insanely fast compared to your average players. These are semi-pros, some even racing on an extremely high level. So let's see the first times coming in, as the first couple of people are crossing the line. And we're following Selim here as he is nearing, I should say, the part where the infield cuts back onto the oval right here. And a quick chicane follows back onto the oval for the start-finish straight. The lag seems to be fixed indeed now. So let's expect this qualifying, as the first bank lap has been set by Miato, a 1:35.3. Of course, the gap's now quite big so far, as some people might not have gotten such a clean banker lap in, but we'll slowly start seeing the times get closer and closer to each other. One by one, they'll probably be quite quickly to get in some of the higher level times here, especially running these low fuel setups to get as fast as possible, get as much time out here as possible. Of course, qualifying a crucial part of a race, as it's not only determines your starting position, but if you get a useful starting position, and you might avoid some of the chaos that always lures in the back. And as we see, someone who is just returned to garage here, I think, yeah. Of course, lap invalidated, probably wanted to reset, fresh set of tires. You can see how close they're getting to the wall. There's someone's off there. Quite an interesting situation. Let's see if we'll join back in a bit of the oversteer here for the Lamborghini. Now coming out of the final corner, trying to get up high as possible, use as much of the road as possible in the slipstream of the BMW. Let's see what they can do. Kisser improves to P4, only 50 thousandths of the P1 time. Like I said, the field is going to be extremely close. As you can see, the top 4 all within 50 thousandths of a second of each other. And the times that are driven are fast as well. P2 is just 2 thousandths of. Now we have 5 thousandths of Miato and P3. The gap's already insanely small with still 9 minutes to go. Top 11 being within the same second of each other. Well, top 12 now. Slowly you can see all the drivers one by one improve their times, get their bank laps in. We'll have to take a look at some of the drivers here. Of course, the championship here, the top 3 drivers slash teams of this championship will get an invitational and a guaranteed seat in the GT3 class in the SimGrid XV Show Grand Finals. And from there on out up until P8 there will be guaranteed seats for GT4 and playoffs for GT4. So every single point you can manage to grab always means, as we see here, the McLaren with the beautiful Racing for Christian livery, dedicated to Christian, who sadly was a big member of the sim racing community here, who sadly passed away a bit over a week ago, which was a shame. It sent shock through the entire community, of course. Beautiful to see a gesture like that still, even to this day. Let's see, coming out of the final corner, will they be able to get a good lap time? There's a first car that's up more than a second of the fastest time. Let's see what they can do. A bit of slipstream from the Porsche. P9 4/10th of a second of pole position. Of course, the entire grid being extremely close, extremely fast. We'll have to take a good look around everyone here. As of course you can see the difference. The slowest driver 3 seconds off, but the gaps at that point are really big between drivers. I'd say most of the grid on pure pace, where the gaps are small between each position, up to 1.7. Take a look at the chats. Holding the flag for Porsche. Jan here as well, holding out just like Peter driving Porsche, and Philip as well. A lot of Porsche drivers in the chat here, so we'll keep an eye on who they're supporting. I don't think it's a big question. Thank you Jago for the commentating compliment here. And Pete, looking forward to Kota tomorrow, of course. The PS5 Championship will be there tomorrow as well, both Division 1 and 2. Will be quite a tricky track as well. Now let's keep our eye back in qualifying, of course. In this Rex Racers Championship with a lot on the stakes. Everyone will be trying to perform as good as they can, making sure to grab every point, because if you manage to eventually qualify for the SimGrid VCO Grand Finals, there will be some great prizes awaiting you. But first you have to make it through these qualifying championships, which we have had the pleasure of hosting ourselves, and we're currently quite far along the way as well. The championship is slowly coming to form, with everyone, with some drivers and teams who are favorites and quite in with a shot at getting those tickets. As now we can see P2 Barocco in the Lamborghini, which is one of the favorite cars of the grid as well. As you can see on the left side, a lot of Lamborghinis, a lot of McLarens. Coming around the final corner now, let's see what he can do. Let's see, will improve from 35,000 1 not putting his time in, but of course get really small or even at the exact same time. That will be really interesting to see. But of course, only one car can get pole position. Will be quite interesting to see who it will be with just 5 minutes remaining in qualifying here. Here we follow Mourant coming around the final corner, currently in P16. Within a second of pole position. Let's see if he can improve. No, he does not as well. Improvements have staggered a little bit here near the end. qualifying, as people have pushed their general best laps out there, but of course track condition will always change, get a little bit more rubbered in. Even though it's been optimal in this whole session, you never know what might happen. Usually the best times always come near the end of qualifying, where everyone is running their freshest set of tires and their lowest amount of fuel possible to gain every single millisecond there is to gain. We're following now one of the BMWs on the grid. Mateusz Couture driving for TC Decroni Racing. Let's see what they can do. Currently P21 actually. Coming through the final corner in the all black BMW. Let's see what they can do. Final corner. You want to keep it as neatly as possible on the apex there, and then let it run out a little bit to take as much speed as you can. Will he improve? No, he won't as well. Still on that 1.4 second gap to pole position. Of course, now getting closer and closer to the end. The people who want to challenge pole position will want to get their laps out as fast as possible. Everyone out on track now. Either some people on an invalid / warm-up lap. Maybe they're trying to get the tires up to temperature as much as possible, as at this point it will be around 2 to maybe 3 laps if you're lucky at this point. Let's hope they will be able to get as much laps as possible. Challenge for the pole position, which is a really strong time by Kisser here, 1:34.777. The gap is 2 whole tenths to P2. That's incredible amount of time here, if you look at the level which these people are racing on. Let's see if someone might be able to get close to that time, or maybe even prove it on it. One of the candidates for it is going to be Mitau here in the Huracan, racing for Baton Racing Express X Esports by Olesh. Let's see if for the final corner it goes. Keeping it nice and tidy on the apex there. Taking a short line through the final corner and straight towards the corner, of course. Interesting line there. A little bit different from usual, but it does work for him. He goes from up to P2, still 2 tenths of P1 though, but every place gained is a place. Now starting another lap as we are nearing the 1:30 mark already, which will be the time at which people will start the last laps. But these people will still have 2 laps under their belt if they don't make any mistakes and keep up the pace. Of course, you can see the cars very spread out across the track, as in these classes everyone wants to get as much free space as possible by maybe returning to the garage and hopping back out right where a gap is starting to form. We've now passed the 1:35 mark, so everyone who crosses the line now will be starting their final laps. Keep a good eye out on all the times here, as Elkis has improved his time with 26 thousandths of a second. We have crackers for Veloci Esports, SRO. They've had some great results here so far in this championship. Let's see if they can continue that streak by getting pole position here. Let's see, will they improve? They will improve, but it's not enough by far. Still 3 tenths off. They have got 1 more lap to improve. Let's hope for them they will bring a challenge to Kissers in the Lamborghini. I can see the field bunching up already on the minimap near the final corner. Everyone knows this will be the final lap, so they're trying to get as much as possible. But this might cause some chaos, of course, with people wanting to wait for the perfect time and people just coming in. Now here we go, 20 seconds remaining. Now here let's see who will be able to set another lap time. Of course, everyone coming out of the final corner just now will be pushing to get to the line. We see some people already in pit lane, like Elkissers. He thinks the pole position is in the back. Mitau as well. Only 1 tenth off in his pole position in his final lap. Sadly didn't make it in the pit as well. Procco in the pit as well. Slowly people are starting to returning to the garage or box, or simply finishing. Let's see if there will be any challenge for pole position still, or people possibly improving on their own lap time, gaining some positions for the start, which is a crucial moment of every race. 2 wheels on the grass of course completely within track limits, but you have to be careful with unsettling the car, especially on exit right there. Now coming for the fast left and right handers. Let's see if they will keep it tidy. Definitely yes, using the brake there to let the rear of the car step out a little bit, get as much angle as possible. He's currently in P4, quite a small gap to P3. Let's see if they will be able to gain some positions, possibly get in the top 3 for the start, still in the second row. Maybe he'll manage to get a front row position, ideally pole position. Let's see, is the driver up. Biggest chance, final driver to cross the line with a valid lap actually. So let's see what will he be able to do. Still P4 sadly, so that's the qualifying results. Kisser followed by Miato, Karax, Tillich, Porco, Honzik, Whitfoot in P7, Filippi P8, Semna in P9 and Brewer in P10. Thank you all for joining us for now, and we'll see you back at the race. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, as you are joining us here for the formation lap of the 90 minutes race here around Indianapolis. Of course, cars now slowly going through, Lamborghini being probably the most powerful car around here, strongest pick as well, but of course with a 90-minute race and driver swaps, everyone has a really good chance to make up places throughout the race. The race is long, it's not just the start, it's not a sprint. Let's see what they will be able to do. Of course, Kiss here in pole position. Will be looking to defend his position from everyone else. Especially Miato will be looking to possibly make a move up and down the insides for turn 1. Of course, these first laps being a great time to overtake, as everyone is still bunched up. It's easier to make a move than having to first catch up to someone. But also the risk involved is greater, as a slight mistake from anyone here could cause a really big crash, with everyone driving closer to each other as well. They've all starting to line up side by side now. Let's see who will get the best start. Of course, these rolling starts being quite tricky, as usual. Let's hope everyone will get through the first couple of corners cleanly without any incidents. As they will be slowly lining up onto start finish straight. Everyone in position. Let's see, Kiss from pole position. Miatao alongside him.
Green light. Go, go, go.
Who will be able to get the best start, as they have started. Right now it's green flag. Everyone having quite the equal start, but it looks like the McLaren has just slightly gone ahead of P3. Might be looking for a move down the inside. Kisser defending the inside line. Great move as he keeps his first position. Now Militao getting at as he pushes the McLaren wide. That will cost him a lot of positions. As Caracas was looking for a move down, I said that we can see some people have had an incident in turn 1. A couple of people off track there, and a big gap has formed from P7 or 8 onwards, I think. Someone is back in there, Gareth already. Few people have not survived the first corner, sadly. But now we're taking a look here at Kisser, who will be trying to extend his lead from now on. As Morant here will be nearly passed from round the outside in the middle of the pack here. Keep defending that inside line, moving back over to the outside, will be able to keep his position. Ooh, it's close, they make contact as well. Now, I guess Mileli will looking to make up a place as well. Just doesn't manage to get enough speed through there. So it only costs him one position there. Now, coming up to the chicanes, we can see just how close everyone is here. Jumping bumper to bumper, side by side. If you need to make up positions, now is the time to do it. With everyone still insanely close and right on each other. Coming to back straight here. Kisser having pulled quite the gap already. Safe space for him for now. Now he will be looking to extend it as much as possible. Try to get out of slipstream to get the guys behind him to battle it out. And for him to hopefully sail on into an easy, calm victory. Of course, you can see everyone quite matched on pace so far. It will be difficult to pull away with a bunch of drivers like these behind you. Let's see what they will be able to do. The top 7, it looks like, have pulled quite the big gap indeed to the rest of the pack. We're all really bunched up, but these guys here are battling side by side now for P9. This is P8 correctly. They move down the inside here. On Chassé, lose the position here, sadly, or gains the position, to Abramov. Great move by him. And now he's immediately pulled quite the gap secure defense it has been. Let's see if we will be able to keep pulling away, escape the battle. Might even be Bremov, who might have been holding up the pack a little bit now. Let's hope he'll be able to pull away as much as he can. Coming onto the back straight, of course, you can now really see the gap all the way from P7 to 8. It's over 4.5 seconds already. He might be looking to join them as soon as he can. Do a difficult task with a gap this big and drive it this fast. Already in the top group, you see someone looking down the inside there. See if maybe we'll be able to pull it off. Ooh, bit of contact there with Lamborghini. They managed to stay in position though. Might be a little bit of touching. Looks like a small amount of damage here on the right hand side of the Lamborghini. See if we can take a bit of a better look at it. Might have been a little bit of contact there. Doesn't look all too bad though. Probably will not be feeling a lot of it. It's a beautiful shot. There was all the cars coming from the right hander to the left hander. Of course, see on the mini-map as well that everyone's really bunched up. But the gap between the 7 and 8 is getting insanely big. Let's hope for all the pack, and especially she said that he will be able to catch up to the front 7, who are hopefully going to be battling it out for position. Well, he'll be driving in clean air, trying to get as much time as possible. Though we see him, ooh, well held by Milady, but it will cost him tires and time. Now the BMW here of Stefan looking down the inside. After the little mistake there, there will be an inside line for him, and position gain, you would say. Yes, it is. You see, small mistake down exit will cost him a position immediately, especially in these opening laps, and when he drives off these caliber, there was no room for errors. Let's see if we might be able to come back around here. As you're entering the straight, everyone really bunched up. Slipstream will be very strong the further you are back, of course. Let's see. Taking a look at the inside, as here we have front defense there. Worked out perfectly for D'Angelo. Has managed to keep his position for now. So now the first 5 minutes have passed already. This race slowly, things will start settling down a bit here and there. People, of course, will still be battling for positions, but of course they'll also have to keep in mind this race is 1.5 hours long. There's still an hour and 24 minutes to go. You might take a big risk going for a position now, which could be useful, of course, but in the same way you could get yourself some big damage, as we can see Whitfoot going for the move up the inside. Who will be able to stick? No, he's not. Looks like it, sadly. But of course, with big moves being made here, there's big risks involved as well. Down the inside now. Coming into this long right-hander back onto the oval part of the circuit. Making it now, he does manage to go past. Defend his position here. A good line through there is important. As we can now see, close gaps here starting to form. Going onto the back straight, the gap between P7 and 8 just increasing every lap. Clear 2 groups now, starting to form with some drivers in between. Who are pulling away from the main group, but are not pulling, getting closer to the first 7. I'll take a little look at the chat here. Jan Bar saying they got hit by a 28 Jan Aleska, what a shame. Of course, a start of a race like this, there's bound to be contact at some point, and we have Polinski off. Let's see how many positions he will lose. At least 1, 2. BMW around the outside, but will be able to hang on in there. A little mistake there, immediately lose position, but at least for him, keeps the BMW bound for now. Let's see, take a quick look. As we can see, a few moves being made around the outside for the white McLaren in the background. Will be able to make it stick, of course. Tricky to overtake around the outside. You can take a look back. Still really close, but didn't manage to get the positions. Looking like we'll be really close between the two of them. People saying as well, seen one driver get pushed wide. He didn't see anything else, of course. Sadly, we can see every piece, we can see every bit of action here, but trying to get as much as possible. And especially at race start, it can get hectic really quickly. Indeed, certain OG gaming, there's some really close racing. Of course, these people are generally some of the best drivers you will find on ACC, all packed together. They'll be able to race really closely, just like that. We'll be able to hang on in there. McLaren are going wide, lose a bit of time. BMW loses rear out, stepping out there. If he loses the position, the Lamborghini is now going to be looking at McLaren ahead. But also made a mistake, of course. Not ideal for your tire life, which will also be a cruise factor. As the BMW loses over the curb, will be able to keep it, yes. But now his line will be compromised, and he goes off as anyways into the gravel there. Loses the 2 positions, 3, 4 down as well. And alongside the McLaren, trying to get compromised for the mistakes he's made. So running the McLaren as wide as he can. So now going side by side, coming to the final corner. Of course, BMW, of course, we're having some gravel and as well some piece of rubber on his tires now, slowing him down for a couple of corners. So this, that should all be fine, as we see Kisser here pulling a bit of a gap towards P2. We now as well have a really big gap towards P3 for this level of racing. You can just see in the background that the rest of the pack is not appearing at all. These 7 drivers really just pulling away as much as they can. Let's take a quick look here at Jaroslav Hanzek, of course, racing for Yassid. Quite the big team, followed by Veloce as another really big team in the sim racing community. We'll be keeping an eye out on what they can do. Both of them are really good, have some really good drivers in their teams and have had some great results in the championships so far as well. Taking back a look at Chet, Sim Gaming, one of the best tracks he loves practicing on Indianapolis. Of course, it's a really great track to drive. Really good for some battles as well, as we could see earlier. Now, let's take a look here back at the screen. Of course, the drivers now are at this point of the race are starting to get in a rhythm, trying to keep their position, get in a rhythm as much as they can. Especially in the top 7 here, you can see the paces matched pretty evenly, trying to keep the tires alive as possible, not waste too much fuel, as of course the big race will really start after the pit stops have been made. Whereas now, if you make a move for a position, you might just lose it under pit stop with the different strategies of undercuts, overcuts, or maybe even repairing some damage if you have damage that's bothering you. Which is something these drivers are going to be avoiding as much as they can. Of course, being really tricky. If you done up a bit of damage now, let's say it loses you maybe just less than a tenth of a second a lap. With the amount of laps still remaining, it will be an incredible loss compared to just taking it easy these first couple of laps, keeping the pace high but not taking high risk maneuvers. To of course keep as much of your car intact, which will be a big risk on the long run here. As we can see these 2 teams here closely following each other, not trying to drive both driving McLaren here. The only players at this point really close in the top 7 here. All of the other cars, Lamborghinis, who definitely around here are looking to be the faster car today. A bit of oversteer there from McLaren. You can see the unstableness sometimes coming out, but of course it just shows how fast they're driving here. Coming up to the final real braking zone, really getting close to the rear bumper there of Jaroslav. Looking to be going around in the slipstream. He's got a really good run there, showing himself up the inside. He's alongside now and going into turn 1. Who will be able to keep the position? will be able to make the pass. It looks like he has even gotten in front before they even started braking here. Really good exit there from the final corner. Possibly a difference in setup as well. Maybe they're just running a little bit of a lower drag setup, which could be explain the big advantage they had on the straight there. Let's see what the Yassid team will be able to answer that move. Possibly go for a counter, or maybe even sit here, wait for the pit stops, try to follow them at their rate of pace. Of course, at this point, the real dispositions are all basically virtual so far. You'll only be looking to stay the same positions after the pit stops. Of course, just trying to lap. Of course, your tires at this point will be important. If you're going to want to try and make an undercut from the car in front, or maybe even go for the overcut, which is seen a little bit less round on ACC here, but you never know, it might work out for you if your strategy and tire wear is handling very well. Coming into the straight again, as you can see, these 7 cars just in a different league, especially the top 2 here compared to the rest of the grid, with still all of them really close together, bunched up as well. Let's hope for them will stay clean, as it looks like it so far. The first sector, see how much curb they're using, but not trying to use as much as they can within track limits, of course, which over the course of 1.5 hours you have to keep an eye on your track limit warnings as well. Now coming onto the back straight, all of these drivers have been closely matched on pace for the entire race, just following in each other's footsteps, trying to maybe force the opponent into a mistake, which is quite unlikely at this level, but who knows what might happen. We've just had 15 minutes of this race, with the pit window opening around the 45-minute mark halfway through. There will be a driver swap as well, so it will be interesting to see the difference in drivers from the first to the second stint. Of course, no driver is the same, especially on pace, so we might see some different drivers gaining time or being in different positions after they made the pit stops. As now coming up to turn 1, all following neatly in a line so far. As here the Veloce looks to maybe outbrake himself, nearly going into the Lamborghini there, costing him some time in getting to pull away a bit. Now, yes, he was up there with them as well, but they had to back down a bit as well now. Porco in the Lamborghini now really close on the Yassid McLaren. As you can see, one little mistake from one driver can really spice things up. Really small mistake there by the first McLaren, but it now has caused Yassid to be under pressure a bit more than they were before. There's a small gap to be pulled from P3 and 4. Let's see what they will be able to do with it. Of course, you can see, especially at the level that guys are driving, it's just really tricky to not make a mistake. If you make the smallest amount of mistakes, you'll quickly be passed with the speed and the optimism that these drivers have behind, and the pure skill. See, now coming through the final wheel braking point, of course a good exit out of here, crucial to your maybe possible move going into turn 1. Let's see will Lamborghini be able to get a good run on the McLaren in front. Looks like they're close, but it might not be close enough for a move yet, as they stay in line as well. Looking like the Yassid McLaren might be running a little bit higher downforce, with the way their straight line speed has been looking throughout this race. Of course, we can see now the two Lamborghinis battling out. Simon's looking for a move down the inside, but deciding to settle back in line, taking a bit of curve there, unsettling the car ever so slightly. He's closely following his. Ooh, braking quite late there, getting a lot of time right on the bumper there of Abramov. Let's see if he might be able to do something after these coming two corners onto the back straight. Looks like getting slightly wider line through here, which will get him in a better position for this corner. Let's see a bit of a slide there, it looks like, from Abramov, but he does manage to keep exit as well, not allowing any move to be made so far. Going back into the few flowing corners where especially it's important to take every corner really precisely. Switching back to Corsa now here, who is looking all over the back of the Yassi McLaren. Now coming onto the front stretch here. Looks like he's having a great run out of the final corner. Let's see, will be able to look down the inside. Will he stay in line? Will the Honzik will defend, but still go down the inside. Looks like they've got the job done. Of course, still need to watch out for the switchback, but they did brilliantly through the first sector of the lap, but they would try to hang on in there. Yes, he did it. Just didn't manage to do it. What a great move that was by the Lamborghini. As you can see on the onboard camera there how close these drivers are to each other. It's absolutely insane here. Three cars this close to all of them, trying to get as much position as possible. Hope this will stay as clean as possible, as these three guys here are really battling out. Honzik, or Porco, Honzik and Thomas here. All three nearly on top of each other, as we have the battle for P3 being quite close as well, with the first two drivers really just pulled a massive gap towards the rest of the field. So it looks like they'll be battling separately, but of course, even if you're down a few positions from where you usually are, it's still important to get as much as you possibly can, because every single point you'll be able to get here counts for the big VCO Grand Finals, which will be happening in November and December this year. Let's see as well, Velocio will be looking for a move, just showing, taking a look down the inside, possibly looking for a move that wasn't on so far, but it might have been threatening a bit here. Let's see, looking for a move around the outside now. Really close battle these two drivers are in. Bit of a wider line for Tillich there, as the McLaren will be nearly hitting the rear end of the Lamborghini there. It's a really close battle. Now let's see, will we be able to go for a move down the back straight? Not a normal place for an overtake, as we switch away slightly to Abramov. Here of course still in a close battle with the Lamborghinis here. Now also coming onto the back straight, see who has the better exit or the lower downforce setup to possibly go for a move here. Here it comes Samira looking down the inside just for a second there, but not committing. You see this pack of 4 Lamborghinis here, all following closely. With a single mistake of any of these drivers probably throwing them out of this battle. As it looks like the car of Seminara here has a little bit of damage on the right hand side, but I'm not too sure. Let's see, so you get really close to each other here. It's insane how close these people can drive without making any errors at all. It looks, if I look at the timing sheet, the character has managed to pass Tillich at some point during this lap, but now let's see here a bit of rubber banding going on, of course. Looking for a move down the inside as well, and we have 2 moves being on here. Will we be able to make it? Just not, but now with the switchback they make contact there on exit, and now on the grass. Is this going to be Polchuk looking for a move out down around the outside now? These are the opportunities you won't be getting a lot in racing at this level. So you can see all of Drive being greedy, trying to get as much profit from this as well. As you can see, the Lamborghini has some damage on the front as well. He spun it. Polchuk nearly lost the car there. Luckily managed to keep it straight, but now it's been thrown out of the battle completely. We'll have to catch back up to them. Of course, slide like that will have influence your tire wear quite a bit, especially the temperature for the coming corners. Now let's see how fast he'll be able to catch them. Of course, the 3 of them in front will still be driving closely. Might be in a battle as well. Could be losing the time. And with Whitwood now gaining a position from that, without even really having to do anything at all, just stay with them. Of course, Samnara might be suffering a little bit from the damage that car has on the right hand side and the front. Yes, it looks like it's not that much that it will be influencing them a lot, but might cost them some lap at this point. City capturing quite a bit of course, now switching back to the battle for third here. All drivers closely following each other. The gap is about the same from driver to driver at this point. So everyone will just settling into rhythm at this point. If no one here makes a mistake, we'll probably stay like this for quite a while. Of course, these drivers are smart enough to know that at this point it's not worth taking a lot of risks, pushing for 100% as the race is still long, over an hour for these people, or at least for the drivers themselves. They've nearly had half an hour done. Of course, this will be for them about 20 minutes in general, take an average here, that they have left to drive before they'll give over control to the other driver of that team. Of course, it's a driver swap race, so it will be interesting to see the pit stops. Of course, some hope from these guys that they won't be making any mistakes, everything will run smoothly, but then still the difference in driver could be really big between teammates, which could be costing some drivers time here or gaining time for the others. It's quite interesting to see the dynamics as we are during the pit stops, which is slowly but surely coming up. You can see the pack is really split in small groups at this point. Slowly everyone is settling into their own pace. So now at this level no one is going to take any risks at all. They want to avoid damage as much as possible, and as I said, that there's 2 yellow flags at the same time, which have already disappeared right now. Now it's been 2 slow cars. Commentator curves in action right there. But let's just keep following this battle here as well. Still, Simonara now looks really close here. Lost a position to Whitwood, I think, yes. And gained again with Abramov. I think it might have been Abramov then indeed who made this mistake going into turn 1, if I remember correctly. Now it's just back 3 Lamborghinis as well, so a couple of positions gained. It might have been Semnar then who got involved in that incident, if it was at all, as they did lose a position. Let's hope for them it was just an incident. Everyone is still slowly following each other. You want to avoid mistakes at this point, especially for this drive in the first stint. It's really more about just managing and surviving to the pit stops without any incidents. The second part of the race is usually when the real race begins, as then every fight is for position and there won't be any pit stops in between to break up fights or possibly even change positions. Now let's see. Simnara will be close enough for a move. Don't think he will be. No, he won't. And Rebecca can go just follow each other through here. waiting for either of the driver to make slightest of a mistake and profit of it. It's just insane to see these people drive at this pace for so long in a row without making any major mistakes so far. At least a few of these drivers have made a slight mistake. Of course, always going to happen as we're nearing the 1 hour mark of this race, which means we've got nearly 30 minutes done already so far. In the with just 1 hour to go, nearing the driver's point. It will be interesting to see what will be happening now. We're nearing the pit lane. There's a little bit of a mistake coming through the corner there from the Lamborghini. Will have lost him some time to Whitfoot in front. Hope for them it will be as little as possible, as they do still have Golovchuk right behind them. Now let's go back to the battle here for P3 and get still everyone pretty close together, but especially Tilak and Barco here right onto each other. No room for error at all. See what they will be able to do at this point. As you can see how close these cars are able to get towards each other. Absolutely insane. Let's hope for them it will be good enough for them. Let's take a quick little look at chat here, discussing about the track with Jan Barfier. When does the pit window open? Not 100% sure, but I believe it's from 50 minutes to 40 minutes, a 10-minute pit window. But that's me speaking. It's at least not the 1 hour mark we can see now. Is it just 1 hour to go now? 30 minutes past, so I believe it's 50 minutes to 40 minutes for the pit window. Cody in chat already saying it was 10 minutes left for where the first driver will be starting to make the pit stops. Some of the teams may be deciding to put in the driver now that might even be a little bit slower around this track, and then making an early pit stop for a fresh set of rubber for the faster driver to gain as much time with the undercut as possible on drivers ahead. Seeing what we'll be able to do. These drive really close here in the battle for P14, Lil Abramov and Haman. People coming with the weather looking clear for the next 30 minutes. It does indeed look very nice for these drivers. Not really a lot of change, but what an interesting factor about this race will be the time, as it's currently in game 7:37 AM. The track will slowly start getting changing conditions as well around these, with this time of day being around here slowly starting to change a bit with the lighting and temperature and everything. Will be, especially with still 1 hour to go, will be interesting for drivers to keep a look at that, possibly changing pressures or just keeping an eye out in general for the changing conditions. These drivers really close on top of each other coming into the final corner. It's going to be Poco who's going to be looking to get as much of an exit as possible. It looked like the gap was slightly too big for him to make a move, at least at this point. So we're switching to Halm here, right on the rear of Aramov, who was the driver that made a mistake into turn 1 at some point, I believe. Will be quite interesting to keep an eye on what he will be able to do. Let's see, coming onto the chicane here near the end. He'll be looking to have as good of a run as possible out of the coming corner, so he will gain as much speed and traction out of here for the final, for the start finish straight. Let's see what he will be able to do. Doesn't look to me as he's close enough, as we've seen a little bit of sliding there from both Lamborghinis, one going wide, one sliding. Tillich here, the one sliding, as Caracas has been slowly pulling away. so far. Really on a good run here. Flexes for Veloce. Taking a lot of curb there. Looking like the mistakes are starting to creep in a little here and there. Nearing the pit window. Nearing there. But the tires will be starting to slowly drop off as well. Which is something drivers are gonna have to keep an eye on, especially concerning their strategy with tire wear, and whether it will be more than they expected or maybe even less for them. So now coming off the back straight here. Take a look here at Mikowski, closely followed by Scatura. We're now just entering the long right-hander, which will enter back onto the oval part of Indianapolis, where every year the Indy 500 is held. One of, if not the biggest race of the years. Looks Mikowski has taken a slightly wide line for that corner. He will have to take a look at a good exit around here. Defend against the BMW behind him. Of course, the any mistake here can be crucial, fatal even. At this point, let's see, the BMW looks like he has a great run coming out of the final corner there. Mikowski has to go defensive. Will he be able to keep his position as he will has to defend the inside line well? He has to watch out for a switchback possibly. Parking his car on the apex there and managing to keep his position for now, but of course the pressure of the BMW right behind him. He will be looking for a move. The BMW does have some slight damage on the right hand side. He has got now the advantage of following him. See what he will be able to do. Going slightly wide there. Of course, and now it looks like Mikowski has gotten safe enough distance behind him to at least survive the back straight here. Ooh, late braking there from Scatura, nearly running into the back of the Ferrari there. So we're switching with the Tillich here. The three of the Tillich, Honda and Poco all being right on top of each other. This will be really interesting to watch as the pit window starts nearing and the sun is rising ever so slowly now in the distance. Going through the first sector, still really close, so error wash having quite the effect on all of the cars here. See what they're able to do here. Back on the back straight now. Exit is crucial here. But let's see if anyone will be able to make a move. You can just see the gap that has been pulled by the velocity mechanic in the last couple of laps. Their pace not really dropping at all. Well, it looks like Poco here is slightly keeping up the driver behind, which will be great to hear from Veloce. They have slowly been able to pull a gap, but now Tillich here made a slight mistake, losing time to Poco, and now having Honzik right behind him. Different lines being taken, they're not ideal specifically, but let's see. McLaren, of course, has a great top speed. We'll see if he'll be able to catch out the Lamborghini. Everyone is going slightly defensive there. It looks like that's a lap car indeed, of which Records was trying to pull a bit of slipstream. The first sector again looks like the gaps have the cars settled in a bit again. Speed bib saying indeed that might catch some drivers out with the changing conditions here. And with conditions, I mean the time, and which will influence temperature as well. And maybe even for some drivers, the sun will be in their way during some corners. Of course, the sun be rising ever so slightly, will be right on the horizon. It might be shining right into your eyes as you are trying to find your braking zone. Could be really tricky for some which will be keeping an eye out as well. All the drivers here. It's just 2 more minutes to the pit window, which means it's about 2 more laps for these drivers here before their first pit stops will be made. It still goes wide, and Honzik does not hesitate to go for a move here. Pushed slightly wide there by the Lamborghini, but still managing to keep the inside line there. That will cost him some speed in the end, but now in the slipstream as well. And with Procco taking slipstream from the lap Porsche as well, let's see if he will be able to go for a move at this point after the mistake. Looks like he doesn't. Great defend there by Tilek. He managed to keep them behind for now. But of course goes wide here, opening the door for Honzik to go by. Who will be taking the position gladly from him in a way like that, and he leaves the door open again. Big move there from slightly making contact with McLaren of Honzik there, side by side for a couple of corners already. Look at this racing, as now we have Thomas involving himself as well, looking for the inside line here, nearly making it 3 wide. Honzik switching to the outside as late as possible, trying to go for the switchback. Tillich parking on the apex. There's a little bit of contact again, pushing Honzik near the exit track, and now right into the attack of Thomas there. Some great racing here, door to door. A bit of rubbing everywhere, but they'll have to be careful this close to the pit window. It will be losing them a lot of time to the cars in front for after they've made the pit stop. Which, as Procco is slowly driving away now as well, who was really closely involved, maybe even holding them up at some point. He's taking this opportunity gladly to make way as the pit window has just opened. The first car has boxed already. Let's really taking profit of it. Who is it? It's taking his pit stop, of course. All drivers needing to make a pit stop at some point, because otherwise you'll have 130 seconds time penalty, which is never ideal. Let's see here, as Tillich slowly meant to pull a gap towards Honzik as they were just battling, but now this lap, a really big distance between them. It will more likely be Thomas going for a move on Honzik at this point. That carve there, very nice of them to let them go like that in the Porsche. Always great to see people accepting blue flags like that, not interfering with any battle at this point. But it might get interesting again, because it looks like Honzik and Thomas are slowly but surely catching up to Tillich again. Some of them will be looking to make an early pit stop here to go for an undercut on the drivers in front. We can see the pit lane slowly but surely starting to fill up. A lot of drivers looking to go for an early pit stop at this point, which could also be interesting going further and further along the race, as of course later that you make your pit stop. You can see as well Tillich going into the pit stop, probably defending from an possible undercut by going for the undercut himself to defend his position. We'll keep an eye out on where he comes back out on track for these drivers, as most of the drivers making a pit stop so far have been a bit further towards the back. Tillich is really one of the first front runners who will be going for a pit stop. Now Honzik and Thomas here will be looking to not lose, or at least to lose as little time as possible, especially now with the undercut at stake. They'll be looking to gain as much time even as possible on these old tires, so they can hopefully go for a move near the end of the race. They might be looking for no possible overcut here, waiting as long as possible to make a pit stop so their tires will be fresher near the end of the race. Or they'll be looking to defend the undercut of Tillich by boxing as fast as they can, which will be this lap. We'll keep an eye out on their strategy now. This is going to be a crucial part of the race. Really important to time your pit stop well, to not get back into traffic if you're trying to do an undercut. Because of course, if most people decide to not box, you're one of the front runners, deciding to go for an early pit stop, and you end up in sandwich between a lot of drivers. Still for position, they won't be having blue flags, so they won't be having to let you by easily. As we can see here, indeed, Honzik going for the pit lane. Let's see, do we have vision on Thomas, whether he is joining? Thomas is staying out, it looks like. But Honzik defending from the possible undercut. Let's see what he will be able to do. The Sprocco is in as well. Of course, the drivers will be changing, so keep an eye on the teams and not the drivers. It's a driver swap is mandatory, so the driver will switch. It will be an interesting dynamic to keep our eyes on this coming time. And see these two McLarens are closely battling right on the tail of Abramov in the Lamborghini. As someone who is at the Marchi in the Lamborghini has got himself a stop go 30. Which is a shame. At this rate it will possibly have ruined his race. Philip in the chat encouraging Michael to put his foot down. Quali pace, let's hope this encouragement will reach him, as they were battling really close with each other, so every millisecond you can gain on your out lap or your in lap will be valuable. Because keep an eye out on the drivers who've made their pit stop already. Or will be further towards the back, hopefully not in traffic. Let's see Miyato going for the pit lane as well at this point. And see if any drivers, a lot of people going for the stops. The coming laps are exactly around the halfway point. Will be the most fair switch, but of course some people might have the best driver in for the start, who will be trying to extend it as much as possible. Of course your tires will be holding you back at some point. As you can see, indeed, the Marshal will have to serve the stop go 30 within 3 laps. Let's hope for them they won't fall back too much, but at this point it will lose them so much time. It's pretty much race over for them. Back into the pits they go. As we can see here, Merchant as well, Fernand, Thomas and Whitfoot all coming into the pit lane as well. Slowly but surely everyone is starting to make the pit stop. Let's keep our eye on Barrier and Bus here, who will be the positions closest to Thomas on track. Have to keep an eye on the bar on the left to see where everyone will end up after the pit stops. Pit window open for just 30 minutes and 50 seconds now. But just a few drivers who have not decided to make the pit stops so far, as our race leader is in for his pit stop. P2 as well, at least P2 in the car. You see here the car vehicle with Watch, who will have gained position there on Thomas, but they're both behind Barrier now, who has jumped both of them with a great in-lap that must have been, or a slightly faster pit stop. And now it's the Morier in the Lamborghini for Red Kings, or the second team of Red Kings. Will be pretty interesting there. And you can see Formule now in the Lamborghini virtual race leader. So now on board with the Mori. You can clearly see the delicate inputs that are needed to compete at a level like this. It's insane. Now going in turn 1. Tries being a lap down to the leaders P5 and 6. Both of them have not made a pit stop yet. And just has Bar not made a pit stop as well. A bit further towards the back. See, is there a really close battle with Fidel? Of course, Fidel have made a pit stop, but Barth has not, which will be interesting to see, as he, of course, no blue flags, so he won't have to give his position up easily. So he's allowed to battle as much as he wants. But they won't be happy about the Lamborghini, which looks like it has an insane amount of damage on the front, but it could just be me. They will be holding them back definitely, as it looks like it does look like the bonnet is open nearly. Won't be able for them, but a lot of time gains. You can see they're immediately on exit. Of course, the fresher rubber will help a lot, especially at this point. Let's see if we're here in P1 virtually, at least for now, for Brabham Esports. Quite some big names around here, of course. Will be interesting to see all the positions and the driver and the pace as we're nearing the end of the pit window. And after Plovchuk here, who has made his pit stop, just gone into the box, and Jan Barf, of course, everyone will have made all the pit stops necessary and will be 100% racing for position from that point on, which is going to be crucial for those drivers to keep an eye out on. Now let's see. Kiekmüller and Formali both passing Plovchuk. Let's see where he'll end up as the last to stop here on board with Blikov for the Iron Lynx team. Right on the tail of Yassid with barrier now. Let's see some big send here from Besnov Gordon in the BMW. Absolutely stunning move there with the late braking. It's really impressive to see every single time with a diamond bomb like that. Now of course they'll be looking to pull away here. Gordon does not look to have such a great run. Maybe after the pit lane still has to get in a rhythm. Looks like all the other cars are immediately piling up right on top of him. He'll have to keep his focus if he wants to keep his position. They're coming onto the back straight now. The McLaren of Tempest right behind him. Now even on the inside as he runs slightly wide on exit there. Let's see, he'll have the better run down the main straight, of course. With these GT cars, completely different top speeds and setups. Will be here the BMW running away in the straight line, but let's see who can make it on the brake. McLaren braking slightly later and sticking the move as we have now switched to Malinowski, who's driving P3 with Philip was close behind as he goes wide. Let's see what's going down the inside there. Is there space? Bit of force into space over Malinowski there in the Lamborghini, but of course you have to profit off mistakes like that now. It's better for the final podium position. Let's see what he will be able to do. This barrier has dropped back from these drivers for wide a bit. Of course, the gap behind them is big, but it's better for the podium positions. But P3 really would be a really good result for either of these teams. But of course, Velocevic having won first 2 rounds of this championship will be looking for more. Although it looks like it won't be a win here. Switching that now to barrier is right on Malinowski. A couple of battles going on here for P4 or for P5 or P4, I can't count anymore. But for P3 and P5. Don't mind me, this is Wyckoff, I can't count. A bit of a brain fart moment there for me. Let's keep following here now. Barrier, of course, a position for P5. This is. He's just been passed by Bykov actually. Which was my bad. But let's see what the pace is like in that McLaren. Maybe after Barrier gets in a rhythm, he of course is a fast driver. As we've seen, as he's the usual qualifier for the RC team. He's be able to put down some great laps here. You can see him getting a lot of time there. On Bykov, let's see. But first, this corner here is the most important one. Trying to get as good of an exit as possible into the toe and slipstream of the car in front. See how much it will affect that McLaren, who I believe are running a bit of a higher downforce setting than most drivers here. Which is going to be holding them back on the straights like this. So hope for them they can make it up in the corners with a bit of later braking here. Going into turn 1 and the 2, the first sector here being really flowing. Hope this will be some great racing for decision as well, as they see them in with this slowly but surely, especially after the pit lane, after the pit stops. Everyone has spread out quite a bit more around the fields. Some drivers being in the middle of nowhere, some drivers being right on each other's tail. But of course you'll have to push as much as possible. Every position that you can possibly get will count. As you can now see them here, nearing the banking part of it again. Now coming in final chicane. Usually a bit of a stronger part for the McLaren. Let's see what they're doing here on the front stretch. They look like they're quite a bit close to Lamborghini in front for now, especially compared to the last lap. But of course you have to be way close to be able to even go for a move on the Iron Links Lamborghini here. Let's switch over here to the battle with Dimori and the Red Kings, who's sandwiched in between a BMW and a McLaren now for P15 here. Let's see, look, as they're all going to be looking for a way past this BMW, who has been involved in some passes a bit earlier here. Let's see, he loses position there, and now the switchback as well here from Lomi. 2 positions lost for the BMW set. Yes, they're off. It's Lomi here, all spun or contact. I'm not sure what happened there. With the damage on the right hand side of the McLaren, it looks like it was contact from the BMW onto the McLaren. We'll have to see a little replay of that. Let's see what happened here. Of course, coming into the end of the back straight. Looks really tidy as usual. Let's see at which point Dimori gets past BMW in front. We'll probably be going into the chicane here. Let's keep a close eye. Everything that happens here, the BMW. And then slight wide braking really early. Dimori going for a big lunge here. Getting the pass stick, but let's see what happens here. And it just looked to me like McLaren tried to turn in, like the BMW wasn't there. Big crash. BMW hits the wall as well. Will be some damage for him as well. What a shame for both the drivers here. With such a battle like that on our hands, it's a shame that it had to end that way. So now we'll be having to race another 33 minutes with what looks like quite a bit of damage there. Shame, all the way dropped back all the way to P20 from P15 or 16. My correction, it was a shame, of course. Quite a good result possible there, but losing 5 positions, possibly even more, as it looks to me like Bar has not made a pit stop yet. In P26 will be interesting to see what happened there, but it will be a 130-second penalty as we have the Iron Links taking quite a wide line. See what will be able to come in onto the start finish straight onto the, of course, the driver barrier right behind, way closer to end laps before, but still by far not close enough to make a good move stick. Now first 2 corners have been really tidy by barrier, not by Bykov though. This is a big gain for him. It will be interesting to see what he will be able to do now. Coming up here, nearing the back straight with a couple of corners leading up to it. Barry will be looking to make a pass now, as of course taking more risks now will be completely fine. Well, will be interesting, at least, with now, of course, 30 minutes still left, quite a long while. Of course, no pit stops range, so this is all for pure track position, which will be the same near the end of the race. This Barry has been closing in on the bike off ever so slightly each lap. Now, really right on the tail of the Iron Lynx Lamborghini, looking for a way, maybe possibly round the outside, maybe possibly diving down the inside as well. Iron Lynx defending the inside, compromising their line through here, which Barry will be looking to make a profit of. Right on top of a big move there down the inside. Of course, will be costing an exit speed, parking it right on the right spot there for the Iron Lynx not to be able to pass. Losing a little speed on the exit as well, but they're on the grass. And that did give the required space for the Lamborghini to come back around. What a move that was from Barry, but too eager on the throttle. An exit, trying to keep it pinned over the grass, and now had to give up his position again. You can see there's a lot of time remaining for a move to be made. Let's hope everything will have worked out. And with Philip in chat saying Yen must have pitted because they did a driver swap. Probably must have missed it, but it still set a 1 extra name last time, so they might have forgotten to do another required part of the pit stop. Which is a shame, as it's an instant loss of 120 seconds. BF saying it was a nice aggressive move as well. It was an aggressive move, of course. It's GT racing, it's not Formula 1. A bit of aggressive is always fine. A bit of rubbing is racing, like they say. Let's see bike fair. Barrier right on top of him again. Let's see if what will happen this time around. This will be nearing a lapped car as well, I think, which could get quite interesting, as they're now coming up to the same point as last time. Barry now not going for the lunge, looking for a better exit, but Bikov will have a bit of pressure, more than coming left gap. Let's see what the gap is as they're coming single line. 3/10 will be slightly too big for a safe move, I would say. Gotta keep an eye on that. Will be good and interesting to see. Oh, and they spun. It's Bikov there spinning, not being able to get his car back straight on. I was just looking away from my screen for half a second, and that was a massive mistake from Bikov. I'm not sure. Looks like the rear is sliding all over the place. The tires, of course, incredibly overheated after spinning around and then spinning himself way too much. A shame for him in this close battle, losing what looks to be 2 positions there. Yesterday some barrier now up to P5. Now here let's take a look back here. P2 here closing in on P1 ever so slightly. Should indeed, oh dear, Valentin, that will be interesting to see. Now here as P1 is, let's see what the gap is coming across the line. 1.3, the gap between P1 and P2 is close enough that they will be applying pressure to each other. Of course, win being extremely valuable, especially in a situation like this with some interesting racing going on everywhere. As the gaps has now at this point slowly gone up around the track. Few battles going on here and there, like here with Lomi. Was pretty close to the car in front, crossing the line, but looked like they got on up a bit again. Of course, Lomi having quite a bit of damage after the contact with the BMW earlier. BMW of Gordon. It was quite an incident there for drivers. Now all the way back in P20, looking to make up some places as much as possible, ideally, to compensate for the points loss that will be going on. These two drivers closest on track at this point, it looks like. Will be going for a switchback maneuver, look for the better exit here. Both of course in the McLaren, so the only difference in top speed will be setup wise, or even more important, the exit of the final corner. Let's see what the gap is as they cross the line. Just 3/10 will be risky for another move again, like I said as well earlier, with two different drivers, one in the McLaren as well, but let's not mention that again because it might go wrong. Now it looks like this execution was a bit better. Of course the gap's still close. Pacheco under a lot of pressure, going wide there as well into the two wheels, dips into the grass. Loney taking a bit more of an offensive line here, trying to get the car more tidy for the next part of the corner, which is defended by Pacheco. Now going on to the main straight. Looks like Lomi managed to go on the throttle earlier, but it did cost him some time again with the car losing traction. Looking left and right, trying to find a gap in the defense of Pacheco, which looks to be maybe have emptied here. They're taking alternating lines through the S's there, going back onto the nearing the oval part to the chicane. Let's hope for them that it will be interesting to see for this race taking a wider line that is Lomi. Philip saying Charlie is upset with Valley. Well, I'm not going to be talking about that too much. It's not up for me to call. But let's see now here with Lomi. That is the current focus. The main part of it will Stewart is still, of course, have to make way here for, so as they are further back, so they are left cars. It will have cost him quite some time, but Pacheco will have to get out of the way of the other left cars as well. Let's see who will profit of it most, who will gain the most amount of time there. Going a couple of corners to going on to the back straight. Lomi did lose quite a lot of time compared to Pacheco there with the left car, but now he's got it all up onto the back straight. Both of them will be having quite some error wash at this point, so it'll be so it'll have to be important to keep it tidy, especially on exit, as the gap is back down to what it was right before their battle got intervened. People saying he loves the onboard perspectives. You can really see what's going on. It's really quite interesting to see all the wheel inputs, all the throttle inputs. And of course, it's more closely to what most people use in racing. Let's see, as they now 4 tanks separate them. Going into the first corner, let's maybe try and follow Lomi on board for this lap. See all line, you can see slowly turning in. And of course the error wash having quite an effect on the car. So it will be interesting to keep an eye out on possible moments of oversteer even on exit, especially slow but keeping it controlled, no wheels on the grass. Then you can see the braking input, the throttle input slowly getting a bit of oversteer there, a couple of moments. Turning in for later apex, let's see if the X is tidy. It is. Let's see what they will be able to do coming up to the next corner. The gap has increased slightly compared to the start of this lap, but who knows, a bit of a moment there for Pacheco. as they're now right on top of each other again. As you can see, what a small mistake, a bit of a slide there, quite a big slide actually from Chenko. On exit they're losing him quite a bit of time. Let's see if Logan will be looking for a move somewhere. Looking around the outside, Pachenko defending the inside. Really close, a lot of oversteer for Lomi there. Of course the error was insane if you're right behind a car like that. Looking for a slightly different line for the final corner, looking to line it up in the slipstream. Looks like he's going slightly wide, but the slipstream might be able to carry it through. Let's see what the gap is. As they're coming across the line, it's just 1/2 of a second. Let's see, will he go for a move? He's looking to go for it. It might be a little bit much. It is. So now the Veloce McLaren is slowly catching up to them. They'll have to make way for him once he gets close enough for it to be blue flag. It's always interesting situation here. Blue flags, well, the slower cars are battling. It's always tricky to find a way to get past, especially with for the slow cars who are in a close battle, and of course they have to make way for the faster cars. They don't want to give up their battle, as it looks like a really good exit is here, coming here for Lomi. So now nearly side by side here. Blue flags are being waved though. Looks like Lomi is looking for a switchback, which might be on here, really close to each other. Right on top of each other, but of course blue flags being waved here. The Veloce McLaren here, who will be looking for a way past as well, as now Lomi has gone down the inside of Pachenko, who has also been passed by that car. Let's see what Lomi will do. He will let the McLaren pass as well. Who has actually been pushed slightly wide. A bit of contact between the two drivers there for position. He was pushed wide by the Veloce McLaren. He had to compensate for that by defending, and now it's Pachenko here. Will have the slipstream. A really good run out of the final corner. As we're coming up to turn 1, the gap is just 2/10 again. With a better one, Lomi goes defensive. Tries to make it as fast as possible. Brakes quite early, and with the pass it's back on for Pachenko now. Will be interesting to see what they might be able to do to get back. Now as well, let's keep an eye on there. Right on top of a bit of contact there, sending Pachenko just a bit sideways even through the corner. Let's take it, and they're now onto the back straight. See Lomi looking to claim the outside, won't be, but the distance will be too big to cover. So we'll take a quick little look at chat in between here. Let's see. Cody and chat saying it's nice and sunny weather. People agreeing it's great weather for racing. It is indeed. The sun is shining. People saying the McLarens are super fast this season. Yes, they are. One of, if not the best car all round this season. But of course, definitely around this track, the Lamborghini is up there as well. Really interesting and dynamic to see between the two different cars. As again, a slightly wide line from Lomi there. Looks like it's not close. It's not going to be close enough for a move into turn 1. We'll keep an eye out in this battle, as we've been going at it for quite some laps. At this point, this looks like a mistake there for Pachenko, with Lomi not really be able to gain a lot of it. Maybe he was thinking about going for a move, which he definitely is now applying the pressure there onto the white McLaren in front of him. Let's see if this constant pressure is slowly starting to wear Pachenko out. It's going to be interesting to see everything that will be happening here. So now, as he's now right in the slipstream, going down the back straight. The quite big gap to the next left car behind, so it will be a lot of battling these coming laps, I can assure you of that. Let's see the right on to each other's bumpers here, coming onto the part that will curl back round to the oval. Taking it slightly wide there, looking for a move in the chicane already, backing out of it. Not an ideal place, but it did force Pachenko to go slightly wide there. Wider than ideal, and having to take a tight line for the final corner now. To compromise his exit onto the straight. Low making use by taking a slightly wider line. Change more traction, more speed, and immediately cutting it back to the inside to avoid, to try and dodge the slipstream. Pachenko being right on top of him still. Who's going to move over to the outside first? Braking, let's see, Pachenko not being able to close it at the braking zone. Still turn 1 remaining. Both keep it neat and tidy. But Pachenko a little less than Lomi for turn 2 there. Lomi managed to build a small gap. Hopefully be able to extend it a bit in the coming corners. Now switching back to our race leader here. Klink Muller. Not really been challenged at all through this race. Really just focusing on himself and driving as good and clean as possible, which is exactly what he's been doing. Keeping the gap behind consistently at 1.8, 2.5 seconds for most of the second stint. I'll be looking to keep it that way for another 15 minutes as we're nearing the final 15 minutes of the race, which is usually the most difficult and tricky part of the race, of course. People taking more risks as the end is nearing, and people getting a bit tired out as well after either driving for around 45 minutes and another 45 minutes of looking at their teammate and worrying about what's going on there. This is really where tension starts rising. An important moment will start happening now. As the further you get along into the race, the more each little risk is worth taking. So keep an eye on the pace and distance closing between some drivers. Possible battle still incoming. Let's take a look real quick. Of course, it looks like Tempest and Buslov are quite close on track at this point, but of course everyone is quite settled into a rhythm so far. Not really any specific moments that have been jumping out the last couple of laps. It looks like Lomi has been managed able to wake up, but now here we have Tempest and Buslov, the two drivers closest on track. Tempest has been gaining a bit of time this lap, around 2, maybe even 3 tenths crossing the line. At this rate he will pass, he will get right on top of him in 1 or 2 laps, especially the slipstream increasing, but he did lose a lot of time for the final sector there, which is where Lamborghini of Buzulov really managed to take a lot of time away from that McLaren. Let's take a quick look here into the first sector. It looks like Buzulov is driving way a bit from Tempest again. Does not look like the most tidy of first sectors there. Let's see what he will be able to now. Coming to the back straight, taking a bit of a later apex, taking not pushing all, losing a bit of time again. Looks like Besnov has realized the threat and is starting to push a little bit more. Now going into the S's again. Now here onto the part where the road course gets back onto the oval for just a bit, which is only going to be the breaking point for the chicane. It's going to be crucial corners here for all the drivers in the exit here. Can gain you a lot of time on the long start finish straight. Here being way too big for a possible move as the page has matched out a bit, it looks like. None of them are really gaining or losing time. It'll be quite interesting to see which one of them may possibly make a mistake first. Which is might be at this point of the race what will cause the decision to come out who will win this battle. Keep an eye on these two with sure. Indeed, there's not much happening on track right now. Gaps between drivers pretty big, but except for looks like Dane and Minan in 24 and 25, the gap is quite small between them, it looks like. Let's see if you maybe will be able to get a look at them, as I believe them to be the closest drivers on. Now, of course, they're close on track, a bit of the gap has been made, but everyone has really settled into their own pace at this point. As we have Giacomo in chat, P3 might come close to P2 by the end of the race. The gap, I haven't really been paying attention to the gap, to be honest, but let's keep an eye out on them while watching other battles. Let's say gap 3.5 at this moment. Let's just keep quite a little eye out on them. And it was 5 seconds and it's now 3.5, so they are indeed slowly gaining on the car ahead. Let's see what they might be able to do, as they will be able to see the next car up ahead ever so slightly with each corner. The top 3 here all in a shot, and right now all of them having about the same gap between them, all of them driving Lamborghinis as well. Clearly a really strong car around this track. Let's hope we'll get some exciting battles, maybe even, like you said, for P2. Just 10 minutes remaining on the clock, which is good. We're going to keep an eye out, of course. Hoping that someone might, at this point, is now where mistakes will start slipping in. And exactly as to say that, Pete says, my mistake time now in a race, 10 minutes left, I always make one. Indeed, the final 10 minutes especially of a race, but the final part of a race are always the most tricky, as it's when you've been focusing for a long time. For these drives, it's been 45 minutes of, well, at this point 35 minutes of driving as fast as they can, as focused as they can, to gain time or gain positions in some cases. Especially now in the last 10 minutes, you'll start to lose focus a little bit. Some mistakes will probably be slipping in here and there. As we can now see the battle here of the BMWs for a P24. Here with Patrick Dean for Red Kings, right by Mission. Let's see if one of them will be able to make a move here. Of course, going to be a big step out there of the rear end of the BMW with Milan. Really close to losing the rear end there. But of course, it will have brought some heat into the tires, maybe unwanted, and now they will be trying to get as close as possible to him. Of course, the SimZone logo on the top of the car there. Both cars losing a bit of rear traction there. Now we have Brewer here in McLaren, P8, but 3.5 seconds behind P7. Quite the gap. Indeed, saying, yeah, when he sees the finish line, indeed, the big slide nicely held right there as he goes wide here. Gordon again with Lomi now, and Pachenko a bit further behind. Gordon now losing the position to Lomi. Of course, they came together earlier in the race, but it looks like Gordon has been slowly falling down the order. Well, oh, correction, that was Lomi indeed. Lomi has been climbing back up. Well, Lomi and Gordon both at the instant there into the final corner, like at the start of the stint. They've now back into position. Lomi pulling away quickly from the BMW. Looks like the pace of Gordon has not been that good this stint. the entire stint's been losing places sadly for him. Most of the stint, few battles, none of them really with a positive outcome, and the car of course looking really damaged on the rear and the sides. Here, talking about damage, now we have a Lamborghini with quite a lot of damage on the front here. Will be quite big of a shame for him, and looks like a tad bit of damage on the rear. And of course damage in races like this, never ideal, especially with length. You can see the bottom being slightly more open than what's normal for these cars. As you in P21. People confirming the 18 has damage, yeah, thank you for that. Was for the 19, yeah, it's quite confusing with the numbers, they look really alike. See if maybe you can see from the steering input the damage. Yeah, the car looks quite unstable there for the corners. Now on board with switching back to Lewis, who has managed to get the gap down to 2.6 seconds now. Gained a second in the past 5 or 6 laps, I would say. But with the time being only 5 minutes 40 left, I have to push a lot more to be able to make up the gap and go for a move for P2. Unless Harry will be making a mistake. Which at this point both of them will be pushing quite hard to get as much time, so mistakes are maybe a bit more likely. They're on the table, they're always an option. So it will be interesting to keep an eye out on these two. The gap has been shrinking a lot, really fast, but at this point it will need to be faster if they want to go for P2 here, without really taking too much risk. Because even though a move for P2 would be amazing, if you end up pushing too hard over driving the car, you end up spinning and that will only cost you positions. Now coming here at the end of the back straight, going into S's that have just been closing in 2/10 this lap, which according to my calculations, let's assume maybe 3 to 4 tenths including the final sector. Half a second a lap will not be enough for them to get close enough to P2, as we've now had this quite complicated battle with a few lapped cars and a few cars fighting for position here. A lot of close racing here. Tampa's being right on the rear of this move. He isn't too far away of Warner himself. Let's see if one of them will be able to go for a move, and slowly keeping out on the time here with Lewis as well. Keep an eye on the time. With right now, this is the biggest battle of them all. Looks like the BMW is gone wide with left car, if I'm correct. Yes, it is. BMW really not being all too competitive on this field, but let's still keep an eye out here. The first 3 drivers of this train now, all fighting for position and being extremely close. Now just through the S's, looking like Philibus has got him back to 1.7 seconds, which at this pace will get him really close, but I don't think it will be enough. But let's now still keep focusing. Half a second is the gap between Sean Tempest and Zenith in front. Let's see if one of them will make a mistake, leave the door open, or go for a move maybe even. Coming onto the back straight now. Interesting to see the slipstream coming into effect for both drivers here. Of course they have the Ferrari head, which will give basically some amount of slipstream, just not as much as Temps will have, as he's right on the rear of the Lamborghini. Really encouraging everyone to go on these last couple of laps. Let's hope to read their advice, as these last laps are looking to be really good at switching with Philbus here for the last few laps, I'd say, of the race, as he's managed to drop the gap to 1.3 seconds. So at this point it will hit this lap. I would suppose this lap and then one more lap to go. So 1.5 more laps to go as he managed to get down to 1.3 seconds. Let's see if we're able to drop it down even more. It's now 1.2 seconds, gained a 10th in the first sector alone. But it won't be enough, he needs to gain more. He needs to be way closer if he wants to go for a move on the final lap, as there are not a lot of big overtaking points on this track. He'll have to try to get he'll have to try to go for a move into turn 1, as that's the most likely corner to go for a move. But of course you have the end of the back straight as well, and the hairpin at which they're coming up now. But if we're talking about overtaking points, that's basically it along this track. Let's see what the gap is. 1 second. That looks like he has not taken the corner as nicely as one to. Have to keep an eye out as they cross the line what the gap will be, but I don't think he will be able to make it. With just one lap left, let's see. It's gone back to 1.6, losing over half a second in just one corner alone. I think that might have ruined his chances for P2. Little mistakes creeping in here and there. Of course, you can see pushing a lot, slightly overdriving the car, maybe with the tires being out of shape as well, this close to the end of the race, leaning on them just a bit too much. It will always be tricky. As for this final half a lap, let's follow Niels Klinkmüller as he will be going down the back straight for the final time. The timer has run out now, so after Klinkmüller here will cross the line, everyone will finish the race. We're nearing the end now. Final lap for everyone ahead of Niels here. We will be crossing the line. Let's see, just a few corners more to go. Back onto the oval, the chicane, and then just driving it onto the start finish straight, taking it easy these last couple of corners. You don't want to make any mistakes now. One more corner to go after this one, which is going to be an easy corner onto the back straight, on the main straight. Let's see. So he comes out of the final corner to onto the straight, and he crosses the line for P1 for Klinkmüller. Now Alessio Famuri crossing the line is second, just shy of a second in front of Filibus. Now Malinowski for P4. Well effort for Vlotche here. Valentin Barry, of course, involved with the little incident earlier, crossing the line P5. Now next we have Chris Vining, right behind some traffic for P6. Great results for him. Biker for P7. Of course, being in a great battle at first, we see some contact down there. Brewer P8. Schubik here. Out of the final corner for P9. Rounding up his lap. Crossing the line now as well. And P10 will be for Cody Cosworth. For Brabham, of course, back to P10, not as good as his start was maybe. But still, points are points, as we have Mali here, who is still in a close battle actually for position. He's past Tempest now in the final lap in the chicane as well. I didn't really keep my eye out on it. He managed to defend from the Mori as well. It's really close racing here. We've missed quite a lot of action here. Tempest across the line right behind Buslov, but Mali here now side by side across the line. Just 1/10 separating the two of them as they cross the line. What a great end of the race that was for those two drivers. As we can see now, the thin end of the race. It was a great race, quite a few good battles, a few incidents here and there, but it was a great race nonetheless. It's an amazing 1.5 hours. I would like to thank you all for watching. Hope to see you all. Tune in next time, and see you all later.